In the winter of 1348, travelers crossing the old roads of Europe spoke in whispers about a city that disappeared without war, without fire, and without leaving graves behind. Some called it punishment. Others called it a lie. But scattered records, merchant diaries, monastery notes, and royal archives suggested something stranger. For a brief moment in history, an entire place seemed to fall out of memory. No one living in the Kingdom of Hungary expected history to remember the small market town of Veliest. It was not a rich city. It had no marble palaces, no mighty cathedral, and no king had ever been crowned there. Veliest existed because roads crossed nearby. Merchants stopped. Farmers traded. Children grew. Old people died. Life repeated. The year was 1347. Europe stood unknowingly at the edge of transformation. The old medieval order appeared strong. Lords ruled lands. Priests interpreted heaven. Merchants quietly accumulated influence. Castles watched valleys like stone giants. But beneath this appearance of order, invisible currents moved. Trade routes stretched farther than ever. Ships carried spices, silk, silver, and things nobody intended to transport. In Veliest, winter came early. The snow arrived before St. Martin's Day. The river hardened. Smoke climbed from wooden chimneys. Among the people of the town lived a man named Tomas Varga. He was not noble. He was not famous. He copied documents. His official title was town recorder. His actual work was stranger. He listened. He observed. He wrote. When arguments broke out, he wrote. When marriages happened, he wrote. When merchants passed, he wrote. If a roof collapsed, Tomas wrote. If nothing happened, he wrote that too. He believed memory was stronger than stone. His office stood beside the church. Shelves held hundreds of records. Tax lists. Birth logs. Property agreements. Weather observations. Tomas treated paper as sacred. His father once told him, "People believe kings build history. They are wrong. History belongs to whoever writes it down." Tomas never forgot. On the third morning of December, a merchant caravan arrived. 6 wagons. 3 guards. 2 exhausted horses. 1 unusual passenger. The stranger wore dark traveling clothes covered with frozen mud. He spoke several languages. Paid in silver. Asked unusual questions. Not where to sleep. Not where to buy food. Instead, he asked, "How long have people lived here?" The innkeeper laughed. "Longer than anyone remembers." The stranger did not smile. "Then someone should remember." That answer spread quietly. Small towns notice unusual people. By sunset everyone had theories. Spy. Scholar. Messenger. Escaped criminal. The stranger rented a room and remained alone. The next morning Tomas received an unexpected request. The stranger wanted access to town records. That almost never happened. Inside the archive room, candles flickered. The stranger introduced himself. "My name is Matteo. No family name. No city. Just Matteo." He pointed at shelves. "I wish to see the oldest records." Tomas crossed his arms. "Why?" Matteo looked at him. "Because maps lie." Tomas stared. "What does that mean?" Matteo answered calmly. "Cities appear. Cities disappear. Sometimes history notices. Sometimes it does not." The recorder laughed. Matteo did not. Hours passed. Together they opened old books. Dust covered fingers. Pages cracked. Then Matteo stopped. He pointed. A tax record. Simple. Ordinary. One line. Too ordinary. Tomas read it twice. Then 3 times. The document listed houses. Families. Livestock. Road maintenance. And then. One neighborhood. 27 households. Names. Taxes. Occupations. Perfectly normal. Except Tomas had never heard of that neighborhood. He checked another book. Same neighborhood. Another. Same. Another. Same. Entire generations recorded. Yet. There was no such district. No ruins. No local stories. Nothing. He looked up. Matteo watched quietly. You see it. Tomas swallowed. That cannot be right. Matteo asked. Why not? Because people remember places. Matteo said softly. Do they? Snow fell outside. Neither man spoke. Tomas opened newer records. The neighborhood continued. Until. Then it vanished. No explanation. No fire. No tax adjustment. No transfer. Just. Gone. 27 households erased from reality. No replacement. No notes. No deaths. Nothing. Tomas suddenly felt cold. He closed the book. This is impossible. Matteo leaned forward. History contains impossible things. The recorder laughed nervously. Someone made an error. Matteo nodded. Perhaps. But his eyes suggested otherwise. That night Tomas could not sleep. He searched local maps. Nothing. He questioned elders. Nobody knew. He visited the church. No burial records. No stories. No memory. 27 families. One entire neighborhood. Gone. By morning curiosity became obsession. And Tomas made a decision that would change his life. He would find where the missing district had stood. Even if everyone else believed it never existed. He packed ink. Paper. Bread. A lantern. And stepped into the frozen morning. Without realizing he had just begun investigating one of the strangest mysteries medieval Europe would ever forget. The next morning arrived under a pale sky. Snow covered Veleist in silence. Smoke drifted upward from chimneys and disappeared into low gray clouds. Normally, Tomas liked mornings. Morning meant order. Records. Dates. Facts. But today every ordinary thing seemed suspicious. A town should know itself. That had always been his belief. If people lived somewhere, someone remembered. If houses stood somewhere, something remained. But 27 households did not simply vanish. Not in 6 years. Not without records. Not without graves. Not without gossip. Medieval towns remembered everything. Especially things that went wrong. Yet Veleist remembered nothing. Tomas left the archive carrying copied notes hidden beneath his coat. The stranger, Matteo, waited outside. As if he already knew. You found nothing. Tomas stopped. How do you know? Matteo looked toward the market. Because if people remembered, you would not be here. The two men walked. Not as friends. Not yet. More like two people following the same question. At the center of town stood a stone marker. Old. Worn smooth. Nobody knew who placed it. Children climbed it. Farmers tied horses nearby. Tomas had walked past it thousands of times. Today Matteo stopped. He brushed away snow. Letters appeared. Old Latin. Partially damaged. Tomas bent lower. Only fragments survived. Eastern Quarter. Boundary. Water. He froze. Eastern Quarter. That phrase appeared in the records. The missing district. His stomach tightened. How many people can read this? Matteo stood. Probably only you. Tomas looked around. People passed. Nobody cared. Nobody noticed. History sat in plain sight. Invisible. That disturbed him more than disappearance itself. They began asking questions. First the baker. No memory. Then the blacksmith. No memory. Then an elderly widow who claimed her grandfather knew old stories. She listened carefully. Then frowned. No. There was never an Eastern District. Tomas showed copied records. She squinted. Read names. Read taxes. Read dates. Then shook her head. This handwriting looks familiar. Tomas waited. She continued. But those people never existed. He felt something strange. Not fear. Not yet. Something colder. Doubt. By afternoon they reached the monastery. If memory failed, monasteries usually did not. Monks preserved everything. Books survived kings. Inside the archive chamber, rows of manuscripts stretched across shelves. Brother Andres greeted them politely. Tomas explained. The monk listened. Then unexpectedly became serious. He disappeared. Returned carrying a locked box. Inside lay old correspondence. One letter caught his attention. Written in 1341. The same year the district vanished. Brother Andres translated aloud. We advise immediate correction of local maps. The discrepancy regarding the eastern settlement should no longer appear in official copies. Avoid unnecessary discussion. No explanation. No signature. No details. Just instructions. Correct maps. Avoid discussion. Tomas stared. What does that mean? The monk closed the document. I do not know. Matteo asked quietly. Were old maps destroyed? The monk hesitated. Too long. Then answered. Some records were reorganized. That was not an answer. They requested access. Reluctantly granted. Hours passed. Most maps showed modern Veliest. Then Tomas found one. Rolled. Hidden. Cracked. Older. Carefully unfolding it. He stopped breathing. There it was. The Eastern Quarter. Roads. Homes. Storage buildings. Even a small chapel. Detailed. Ordinary. Real. Not imagination. Not myth. Entire streets. Entire blocks. He counted. 27 household marks. Exactly. Tomas whispered. This existed. Brother Andres looked uncomfortable. Matteo remained expressionless. Tomas pointed at the modern map. The space occupied by the district was now empty. No replacement. No fields. No ruins. Just blank parchment. As if cartographers avoided drawing there. That should not happen. Land is always used. Especially in medieval towns. Every meter mattered. But here. Nothing. The monk finally spoke. Quietly. Put the map away. Tomas looked up. Why? The monk answered. Because old things should remain old. That sentence stayed in the room. Heavy. Wrong. Matteo stepped closer. You know something. Brother Andres looked at him. Then said. My predecessor told me one thing before he died. Silence. Then. If people begin asking about the missing streets. He stopped. Tomas pressed. What did he say? The monk swallowed. And answered. Tell them the river changed. Tomas blinked. What? The river changed. Tomas almost laughed. There was no river there. Brother Andres nodded slowly. I know. No one spoke. Outside. Church bells rang. Evening. They left. Snow fell harder. Halfway back to town, Tomas turned. The monastery stood silent. Ancient. Watching. Then he realized something. Something impossible. He looked at Matteo. The old map. Matteo nodded. Tomas said quietly. The streets point east. Matteo answered. Yes. Tomas whispered. But east of town there is nothing. Matteo finally looked directly at him. And asked. Then why did they build roads leading there? That night Tomas could not write. His records remained blank. For the first time in years. Outside. Snow buried the roads. Inside. An older question emerged. Not where the missing district had gone. But. What had once stood beyond it? And why someone had worked so hard. To make everyone forget. By dawn the snowfall had stopped. Velius looked untouched. Clean. White. As if no secrets had ever existed beneath it. People opened shops. Children carried firewood. Dogs barked. Everything appeared normal. Too normal. Tomas stood at his window and watched. Yesterday he would have described this scene in the town ledger. Weather stable. Market active. No unusual events. Today he understood how dangerous that sentence could be. History did not always lie. Sometimes it simply omitted. An omission could erase entire worlds. He met Matteo near the old stone marker. Neither spoke for a while. Eventually Tomas asked. You've seen this before. Matteo took longer than expected to answer. Yes. Tomas waited. Matteo continued. Not this town. His eyes moved toward the eastern hills. But similar things. That answer only created more questions. Before Tomas could ask, Matteo unfolded copied pages. He placed 3 records side by side. 3 dates. The names of families changed. Taxes changed. But one detail remained. At the far edge of the eastern quarter. Every record ended with the same phrase. Boundary road maintained. Not unusual by itself. Except. There was no destination. Roads existed to reach places. This road ended outside mapped territory. Tomas pointed. Maintained for what? Matteo folded the papers. That's what we're finding out. They bought provisions. Rope. Lantern oil. Bread. A local farmer noticed. Travel gear. Eastern direction. His face changed. You're not hunting out there. Tomas answered casually. No. The farmer hesitated. Then said. Good. And walked away. That stayed with Tomas. By noon they crossed the edge of town. Snow deepened. The eastern side looked empty. No ruins. No buildings. Nothing. But after nearly an hour, they found something. Not a structure. Not walls. A road. Almost invisible. Buried beneath soil and snow. Straight. Stone. Old. Tomas knelt. Cleared snow. Carefully fitted paving stones appeared. This was not a village path. It had been engineered. Measured. Built to last. His heartbeat increased. This road once mattered. He stood. Looked back. From this angle. The road aligned perfectly with where the missing district had once stood. Mateo simply said, "Continue." They walked. Hours passed. No houses. No signs. Only road. The silence felt wrong. Not peaceful. Muted. As if sound itself stayed close. Tomas noticed something else. No birds. No tracks. No animals. Winter usually left signs. Here. Nothing. Eventually the road widened. Ahead stood 6 stone pillars. Broken. Covered in moss. No roof remained. No walls. Only pillars. Like an entrance. Tomas approached. Symbols covered the stone. Not Latin. Not Hungarian. Older. One pillar had collapsed. Beneath it. Letters. Carved later. Medieval handwriting. He brushed away dirt. One sentence. In Latin. He translated slowly. Turn back. The records are wrong. Tomas stared. Someone had written that. Someone medieval. Someone who understood. Mateo said quietly. Read below. Another line. Smaller. Harder to see. If you remember this place, do not speak of it. Cold moved through Tomas. Not because of weather. Because warnings usually explain danger. This did not. No monsters. No curse. Only. Do not remember. They passed between the pillars. Beyond. The land changed. Not dramatically. Nothing magical. That made it worse. The trees became older. Road stones cleaner. Snow thinner. And then. They found the first house. Wood. Collapsed. Old. Tomas stopped. House. Actual house. Not ruins of a watchtower. Not isolated shelter. A street. They found another. And another. Entire rows. A settlement. Silent. Abandoned. His breathing slowed. No. This could not be. This was the Eastern Quarter. Not vanished. Not destroyed. Simply. Left. But why did nobody know? Why erase maps? Why pretend? They moved deeper. The layout matched the old map. Exactly. Small square. Storage sheds. Well. Chapel. Everything. Frozen in time. Doors hung open. Inside one house. Chairs remained. Clay bowls. Tools. Nothing looked looted. No signs of battle. People had simply gone. Tomas entered carefully. Dust. Cold. Silence. Then he found something. A ledger. Protected inside a wooden chest. His hands trembled. He opened it. Personal records. Household notes. Normal entries. Harvest. Bread. Trade. Then. The writing changed. Short sentences. Uneven. One line. People stopped arriving. Next. Travelers cannot find us. Then. Market attendance reduced again. Another page. The Western District claims we moved away. Tomas turned faster. Dates. Days. Confusion growing. Then. One final entry. Written heavily. Repeated. Again. 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 We are still here. Blank pages after that. Nothing else. He closed the book. Outside. Matteo stood in the center of the abandoned square. Looking at the chapel. Its bell tower had collapsed. But one thing remained. The bell. Tomas approached. Then froze. Names. Hundreds of names carved into bronze. Family names. The same names from the records. Not memorial names. Attendance names. People adding themselves. Year after year. Until. The final carving. Only one sentence. No name. Just. If nobody remembers us, did we leave? The wind moved. The bell rang once. Soft. Impossible. Tomas stepped back. Neither man spoke. Then Matteo finally said. I think. He stopped. Tomas looked at him. Matteo continued. This wasn't abandoned. Tomas stared. What do you mean? Matteo looked at the empty houses. And said. I think these people stayed. Silence. Snow drifted. The abandoned village stretched around them. And for the first time, Tomas began wondering whether forgetting a place might not be the same thing as losing. The bell stopped. Its sound disappeared so quickly that Tomas questioned whether he had truly heard it. The square returned to silence. Snow drifted between abandoned houses. Nothing moved. No smoke. No footsteps. No voices. And yet, nothing here felt ruined. That was what unsettled him most. Destroyed places usually showed violence. Fire. Collapse. Decay. This place looked. Paused. Like everyone had stepped outside for a moment and never returned. Tomas turned slowly. Every door remained. Most windows remained. Storage sheds remained. Even small wooden fences still marked property lines. Too orderly. Medieval settlements did not disappear neatly. Matteo began walking toward the chapel. Tomas followed. The building was small. Stone lower walls. Wood upper structure. Simple. Built for ordinary people. Inside. Rows of benches. Candles long melted. Dust untouched. At the front stood a painted panel. The artwork had faded. But enough survived. It showed the town. Veliest, except. The eastern district appeared larger than the western one. People crowded the streets. Markets. Children. Normal life. Then Tomas noticed something strange. At the edge of the painting, beyond the district, stood another road. Heading farther east. Toward hills. Toward empty space. No labels. No destination. He looked around. Why would a neighborhood have its own road beyond town? Matteo didn't answer. Instead, he examined the altar. Something had been hidden beneath it. A compartment. Old. Carefully made. Inside. A stack of papers. Dry. Protected. Tomas opened them. Meeting records. Town decisions. Dates. The final years. He began reading. At first. Ordinary. Crop concerns. Bridge repairs. Trade disagreements. Then the subject changed. Repeatedly. One phrase appeared again and again. Recognition problem. No explanation. Next meeting. More complaints received. Another. Travelers no longer entering district. Another. Western officials insist population has decreased. Another. Request denied. Tomas frowned. Request for what? Then. A meeting transcript. Short. Clear. He read aloud. Council member. Tax collector reports only 13 households. Reply. We counted 27. Response. They insist we are mistaken. Another entry. Visitor from Western District states our streets do not exist. Children upset. Recommend reducing contact. Another. Merchants bypassing district. Even those invited. Tomas lowered the paper. His chest felt tight. These people had not disappeared. People had stopped seeing them. He looked at Mateo. Mateo looked unsurprised. That bothered him. Tomas asked quietly. You knew. Mateo answered carefully. I suspected. Suspected what? Mateo looked at the chapel doors. Then said. Some places become forgotten while they still exist. Tomas stared. That makes no sense. Mateo nodded. I know. He sat. Thought for a moment. Then spoke. In Italy I found records of a monastery. Tomas listened. They complained that nearby villages stopped acknowledging them. He continued. Letters arrived addressed to no one. Tax collectors stopped visiting. Maps removed roads. What happened? Mateo looked at him. The monastery eventually vanished. Tomas waited. Mateo finished. But later travelers found the buildings. Silence. Tomas finally asked. What causes it? Mateo shook his head. No one knows. The answer felt worse than superstition. Because Mateo was not speaking like a storyteller. He spoke like someone describing weather, real. Observed. Unexplained. They continued searching. Near sunset they reached the edge of the district. The final road. The one from the painting. Unlike the others. This road remained clear. Almost clean. No heavy snow. Settlement beyond. Approved route. Return before. The rest missing. Return before what? No answer. Nearby they found another building. Different. Larger. Records office. Tomas entered. Shelves remained. Papers scattered. Most unreadable. Until. One book. Bound in dark leather. Town census. His profession made his hands move automatically. Dates. Population counts. Year after year. Growth. Stability. Then decline. Not actual decline. Recorded decline. 1338, 411 residents. Official recognition, 407. 1339, 414 residents. Official recognition, 361. 1340, 419 residents. Official recognition, 294. 1,341. Actual residents, 423. Official recognition. Tomas stopped breathing. Below. One final note. Written in different handwriting. We remain present. They report absence. We do not understand. Nothing after. No deaths. No departure. No collapse. Only. Zero. Outside. The sun disappeared. Darkness came quickly. Too quickly. Tomas stepped outside. The abandoned district looked different now. Shadows longer. Windows darker. He turned. And froze. One house. Far down the street. Had light inside. A warm yellow glow. Not firelight from sunset. Real light. Steady. His throat tightened. Mateo followed his gaze. Saw it. Neither moved. The house stood silent. Light behind curtains. No smoke. No sound. Then. Very slowly. The front door opened. Someone stood there. Too far to identify. Still. Watching. Not moving. Tomas whispered. Did you see that? Mateo answered quietly. Yes. The figure remained. Then raised one hand. Not waving. Pointing. Toward the eastern road. Then. The light went out. Darkness. The doorway became empty. Silence returned. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally Mateo said. I think someone stayed. Tomas looked again at the road disappearing into the hills. And for the first time, he wondered whether forgotten places might still have people living inside them.